Fox from Zwaremachine, and the bass player is D-Bot, and our drummer is Dine Officer. Both the bass player and I are in the U.S., Minnesota, and our drummer is in the Netherlands.
Oh, wow. Okay. How does that work?
It doesn't really work right now. I mean, obviously, we can send some files. We can, we've made videos remotely where him and Kitty, our manager, will be in the Netherlands in a setting, and then we'll try to find something that sort of matches here. And yeah, we haven't played since October 2019 as the full trio. The bassist and I are able to do some live streams from down here in my little crazy basement studio, but the three of us haven't been able to get together for quite some time now.
God, that must be very hard.
Yeah, it sucks because I really like Dine Officer. He's a cool guy to hang out with.
Yeah, and he's got a certain style with that drum, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's kind of menacing. He's like our security drummer.
I was going to say, from your videos, it's such a powerful impact on his drums, and it's like, yeah, you wouldn't mess with that.
Yep, exactly. I just go stand behind him if it gets kind of messy. I got a place I can get some protection.
For sure. I mean, the drum in itself is just quite powerful. What about the name? I mean, where's your name come from?
So when I started the band, maybe around 2011, I had a song called Zwaremachine Police and the Zwaremachine. And what I was doing was releasing music on some net labels, some labels from Russia, Germany. I think AF Music was the German label I was releasing with, some Italian ones. So I thought it was cool, the idea of, being a bit international. So I tried to smash together some English and another language. I thought that was German for heavy. It turns out it was Dutch. And just by sheer coincidence, our manager and our drummer are both Dutch. So we get asked that a lot, like, why does a band from the U.S. have a Dutch, name? And it's just pure coincidence. I was trying to mix it up, being multinational, and kind of come up with something different.
It's a good name, though. It's different, and it's a good name. I like it. Definitely like it.
Yeah, I mean, it means heavy machine, and I used to use a lot of sequencers and hardware, so it was quite cumbersome. Bringing it to shows was a lot of heavy equipment, so yeah. It kind of fit in too.
Yeah, and with that drum.
Yeah, well, that's not. I think it's made out of aluminum, so it's not that heavy, but yeah, it sounds heavy, so that's pretty cool.
It does, and the way he hits it looks like it was really built to last. Thank goodness.
Yeah, and it's a real special thing too, because I set up the band. I always wanted to be a trio. I just envisioned it another synth player. I would play synth, and then we'd have some guy pounding on electronic drum pads, probably standing up playing some electronic pads. I never expected to have a electric bass and an acoustic drum in the band, but the sound really came together. And sort of on the new record was the first time I got this full trio recorded on there. Before, it was maybe more myself doing, all the sequencing and drum machines and bass programming. Now I really have, I'm veering back into electronic rock almost, which is sort of where I started.
Yeah. What about the band? How did that come about?
Well, D-Bot, the bass player, and I have been playing together on and off since about 2006. I had a band, my Mach Fox band, it was called, and I was playing guitar, but I was programming drum machines and sequencers. So there was synths, it was electronic rock.
Yeah.
And D-Bot was playing. He ended up playing with me way back then. He's just a great guy to hang out with, great guy to be in a band with. So over the years, like from about 2012 to 2016, I was doing Zwaremachine just a couple gigs a year. It wasn't like even a band that I was pursuing, like trying to tour or release stuff with. But we'd get asked to do a show, and I'd be like, "Sure, we'll play." And so I just put together a 3-piece with whoever musician friends were available. So D-Bot, who's playing the electric bass now, he was playing synth and electronic drum percussion in those days. And around 2000, the end of 2018 and 2019, I just asked him, I said, maybe I sort of tricked him. I said, let's get the Mach Fox band back together, but I wanted to do Zwaremachine songs. So eventually, and he was into it. He's just a cool musician, cool guy. So he ended up doing it, and it seems like he likes it. So he stuck around. And for the drummer, Dine Officer, he saw a solo gig I did in the Netherlands because he's friends with Kitty, my manager for the band. And I started seeing his pictures on Facebook and stuff. He's pounding this big drum. And like you said, he looks a bit menacing. And so I was like, God, what if this guy was in the band with us? Just kind of, I was thinking playing an electronic drum kit, but I talked to him a bit. He seemed open to the idea, but he said he would rather play the drum that he plays. He didn't want to play electronic samples. And then I was like, I thought that made sense. Why not do what he does best rather than try to push him into something I wanted? And like I say, I couldn't be more pleased with the trio right now, the way that it came about. And it's not fully electronic. It's a little bit of acoustic and electric bass. It just fell into its own place.
So it's quite I seem to have lost. I lost you for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back now. It's very unusual for your type of music to have, well, a real drummer as such, like that. And is it just the single drum?
Yeah, we just clip a mic. That's the other thing, he can be kind of mobile. So we clip a mic onto his drum like you would on a tom on a traditional drum set or something. But yeah, and I mean, now some of the bigger bands, like say, for instance, Skinny Puppy, they have drums. Front 242 even has a drummer who sits down and plays a lot now. But I really did feel like that was something that could set us apart. And I'm kind of proud that we do have that thing. It's not just, and there's nothing wrong with 2 guys or 2 girls, a laptop and a singer. That you can produce great music. I've seen great shows with that. But I come from like a punk background. I played in punk bands, and it's like, I really like the energy of the other people on stage rocking out, Yeah. The bass player's into kind of a metal and maybe black metal and progressive metal. So I can go over to his side of the stage, bang my head with him. Then I go over to the other side of the stage and pose with Baz, or Dine Officer.
Yeah.
It's really cool to have that live extra oomph, a little bit behind the tracks.
And you're right, it does stand you out from the rest. It really does, and that's always a good thing when you have that kind of thing. What's your inspiration behind your music and your songs?
Well, like in a broader sense, like I said, I came from punk rock, so a lot of my lyrics kind of maybe have a political slant, or I'm not really trying to be political, but I have certain views on certain things, like big pharma, whatever it may be.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of that is always going to be in there. And musically, I really do love drum machines and sequencers, stuff like Fad Gadget and Skinny Puppy, just this darker, aggressive electronic music has always appealed. I love electropop too, though. So, it's hard to say. It's a broad range of influences, and I like to really bring a little bit of everything in, but still focus on something we can call our own. And that's, I do have this phrase I say, minimal, hypnotic, industrial body music, which to me, when I was using sequencers, I'd write a 18 or 16 bar pattern, but then I'd maybe cut it down to 2. So it just like kept, it just like gets in your brain because it's just that. Now that can be very annoying, but blended with, the human elements of an electric bass and a drum pounding and the singing, I feel like takes it out of just a loop.
Yes, and it even though you're not being annoyed by it, you're hearing it, and it kind of sticks with you.
Yeah, and I mean, it can be annoying to some, I'm sure, but I just kind of wanted to lean into that, especially with this new record we worked on. I was like working with some other producers and songwriters, and I was like, well, how do we make sure it's a Zwaremachine thing and not just become like a different band all of a sudden? So that was one thing I carried over from the first record was, the editing of maybe smaller bits and looping them and manipulating them in that sense.
I did notice from your lyrics that I didn't kind of click with me at the time, but now you've said about your punk background, now I see it. You've got that.
Well,
yeah, so it's there.
Well, and it's stuff like, the Clash and the Dead Kennedys. When you're 15 years old, I wasn't into politics at all, but I started finding out all this shit that was going on. Reagan was doing all this crazy shit, and it's like it's never stopped. It's still, things still happen like that, but yeah, I think a lot of underground bands, like, just lyrically are doing stuff like that. But yeah, for Zwaremachine, it definitely is a lot of sci-fi and horror themes going on too. If it's not, and a lot of times I try to be a little bit vague. I don't want to come out and make a statement. So I'll maybe phrase it in a way that it could mean a couple different things depending on where your focus is and what you're trying to hear out of it.
That's always the danger, isn't it? If you go too political, you could either lose half your fan base or gain half your fan base, which is.
Well, I feel like, and a band like Laibach, for instance, they're like, they're into it and they do it and they do it well. And I just don't, I want a little bit sort of in my head, my band is going to take you to a place visually and musically that's maybe closer to a sci-fi or horror movie where it's a little bit more fun than serious. Yeah. There are serious moments, obviously, but I don't know. It's like it's a release and a different place you can go with our music, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's very effective and I like it. I really do.
Cool.
What about the creative process? Is that a team thing or is it you?
So yeah, Be a Light, the first full-length album we did, I kind of wrote those songs and I was able to play them out with the different, trying to be a trio with some different members here and there. While I was writing and arranging them, I was playing them live on stage, the songs that became the Be a Light album. So I had a lot of time to rework them. Some songs just didn't fit the Zwaremachine vibe. They were either too electro pop or lyrically they didn't fit. So I was able to hone down and make a decent album. I think there were 7 songs on there that kind of had a vibe. We're still a bit retro, but we were like really into the Clinic, Dive, Skinny Puppy, Front 242. I mean, each song on that album, I could say, this is the Front 242 song. This is the Skinny Puppy song, and maybe it's clicking with me. Maybe the listener doesn't exactly get that, but in reviews, I think a lot of people did connect with that. And we were kind of like noted as a retro electro industrial band. So that was cool to make that album. That was just mostly me. I was able to do everything as I wanted. Didn't have to ask the band members, okay, what should we do here? Yeah. But like I was saying, D-Bot, the bass player, he's quite a musician. So when we started working on the second album, I asked him, I said, do you have tracks you're not using with your other projects that, we can try? I had a bunch of Zwaremachine demos too, but I wasn't happy with them. I was feeling like I was going to make the same album again, sort of. So
Yeah.
I got the bassist involved, and he started giving me these tracks. They were a little more aggro, a little more aggro tech style
Yeah.
and ravey, just like really aggressive synths. But we decided we'd work on those demos, but then we'd replace the instrumental tracks. So I have a producer friend in Sweden, Plank Tune, and he basically, I would present him the demo tracks and say, just make sure you use my vocals, but feel free to change any of the instrumentation, programming, do your own thing. So it was like we got other people involved in the second album, and half of the album was from an EP that I worked with Darren Corey, who's another producer. He's in Ireland, and we just knocked out an EP quick. And this is a long story, but
Right.
Conquest 3000 was a concept album originally with about 11 songs that D-Bot, the bass player, gave me. And he had these cool science fiction titles, Conquest 3000, Parasol, like they all had titles that instantly I was like, okay, this is this. So lyrically, I took off right away. I was inspired right away. And then I had a way that I tied it all in, at least in my head. But it turns out that about 4 or 5 of those songs just didn't fit the Zwaremachine vibe. They were too melodic, or they just didn't fit the album vibe. So that's why we ended up with 5 songs from Darren Corey, who we produced an EP with prior to Conquest 3000. And then we had about 5 songs with Plank Tune that were originally the Conquest 3000 album. So yeah, there's a lot of people involved. And then I mixed it with another friend. So basically the first album was solo almost, and then the second album became about 6 or 7 people involved.
Yeah, they're all international. It's incredible that you create this.
Well, it's fun, you know what I mean? I love collaborating. I've got stuff going on right now that'll be coming out, another collaboration with a friend from Australia. So there's, nowadays we can send files, we can chat in video like this. You're in Malta, I'm in the US. It's cool.
It is. It's fun, it makes it a whole lot more interesting, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. And I mean, like I said before, I came from a punk band, where you did stuff with other people. Now, sometimes that's a hassle. Sometimes it's great. But, in the creative process, there's nothing wrong with collaborating. It is fun.
Yeah. And it can create wonderful things as well. So that's a good part of it. I got to say, Conquest 3000, the title track, fantastic.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's a bit special. There's just something going on that I couldn't do myself. That's Plank Tune too on the instrumentation, but it was written by the bass player. So yeah, thanks for noting that. That is a special one, and that's why it became the title track, and the whole album was sort of around that. It's the year 3000. There's nothing left. The planet is depleted. Everyone with money has left. They live on other planets. So there's a few stragglers left, kind of, they can only go out at night because the UV radiation from the sun is so deadly. And there's a whole story behind all that. But yeah, it's the year 3000 and we're doomed.
I'm glad you said that, because I knew it was something like that, but I couldn't get the whole story. And
Sure.
Now you've explained it. Yeah, and it makes sense now, the color of the video.
Yeah, we did. The original video was in black and white, and that's an example of one that was shot in the Netherlands and the US. With the bass player and we tried to find a location here that looked desolate, like where they filmed in the Netherlands, and I think it kind of stitched together okay. But yeah, when we released it as a single with some remixes, and then we remixed it and remastered it for the album. So we redid the video. Kitty did that, actually, our manager.
The manager, wow. And that is a fantastic track. I'm getting a bit of feedback. I don't know if that's me or you.
I can turn down here a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. What else can you say about the album to give people an idea of what they?
The artwork I think is pretty cool, and we were able to release it as a digipack, so we got some like nice stuff when you fold it out. That artwork was done by Mark Gerard. And I don't know if you go to our Bandcamp and you just go to the initial release page, you'll kind of see we have a theme to our artwork. We work with Paul Gerard originally, who does a lot of stuff for horror and sci-fi films. I mean, films you would know too, but he does a lot of creature development type stuff and just an amazing artist. He's been a friend for a long time, and we were able to use some of his stuff for the early albums. And then his brother, I think he's pretty busy. So then his brother, Mark Gerard, who was always doing the text and the titling and layout anyways, started offering some stuff. And we just like started working with him also. So we're pretty lucky to have two amazing artists. And I like the idea of having an overall theme to the artwork. So that's something nice. I definitely want to mention.
It flows nicely, doesn't it? It's really, really good. Another one I like is Remain Unseen. The video to that. Wow.
Is that the black? Probably, yeah, that's a black and white one. We shot that in Germany when I was there. The bass player couldn't make it for a short tour we were doing. So it was just, that was the first, and Dine Officer, the drummer, that was the first tour we did together in September of 2019. But so we had talked about him being in the band, and he had the tracks to rehearse to and everything. But basically, when I got over there, we rehearsed that day. And then that night, we had one rehearsal that day. And that night, we drove to France and did our first gig of the tour. That just amazed me. And like in the rehearsal, when he starts pounding his drum and he's mouthing the words to the songs that I barely know all the words. And I'm going, this guy is for real. This guy is fucking cool. He's in the band for sure. I mean, he was, whether he liked it or not, for the tour. But I saw him doing that. And I was like, this guy he's 100% into it. And that gave me a lot of confidence, because our bass player had to bow out of that tour kind of late, like right before we were supposed to do it. He had some family stuff going on. And he just couldn't make it. Yeah. And so, of course, I had a little anxiety. Well, how is this going to work, But it was great. And, yeah, we went to Germany, and that was in an industrial park. Oh, and so there was, like, kids. We were filming the video. There's kids up above, like on their school class trip, like asking who we were and yelling down and stuff. And we're trying to film a video. It was pretty fun. But, yeah, Kitty, the manager, she filmed that and edited it. It was really fun to do. And I love that song. That's the Plank Tune mix. And we end every set with that song because people just get going. Yeah, we like it a lot.
That is absolutely fantastic. Have you managed to get any gigs going yet, or is it still kind of?
So we are, I can't give you the exclusive drop on this one, but we are tentatively booking for 2002 October, like around October. We'll be doing a few shows. It's hard to really put together a tour for us because of the expense of travel and just the way the world is. But I think we'll have a good festival announcement coming up, and then we'll book some shows around that. And it'll probably just be Central Europe, a few shows.
Yeah. That'd be good. That would be very good.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
What's next for the band? New album, new singles? Obviously, the album Conquest, obviously 3000.
Well, yeah, we released that, and we sort of promote stuff ourselves because I've built up a lot of contacts over the years of releasing Mach Fox, and just like, not being afraid to like cold contact someone and introduce myself and say, hey, I got this, if you want to check it out. I don't try to spam people in their inbox, but I do want people to know what we're doing. And so basically the promo for the album's taking a little longer than, like say 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's because everyone's backed up. I'm sure you get the same thing. Everyone wants some free promo or press and wants an interview. And, your inbox gets full. So you're trying to like keep up, and everybody's releasing albums and quality shit too. Like there's good albums coming out left and right. So we're just lost in all of that. We're not really big and established yet. So I'm confident if people can hear it, we can widen an audience and stuff, but it's just getting heard in all the other stuff. It's just hard. So we're going to keep promoting the album. The bassist and I, we will be working on the next album together. I just love, he's way more melodic, way more accomplished, it's a different style. And then I get to concentrate on being the singer and arranger more than having to program everything, which I have a certain style, like that minimal hypnotic thing. So we'll continue working on music. We've got a couple covers we're working on that'll be cool. They're almost done. We'll release those soon. And then the outtakes from Conquest 3000 that were a bit too melodic for Zwaremachine, we're going to release those as Mach Fox Band. And that's sort of just a solo project I do, but it is, we did Dine Officer, the drummer from Zwaremachine, and D-Bot, the bassist who wrote the songs. They're both on these songs. We just don't feel like they're not the Zwaremachine band. We're not going to play them live. So we just want to we still want to release them. They're quality songs, but we don't want to, we don't want to confuse Zwaremachine fans with like, now what's this band, And I'm pretty excited about that. And then as far as Zwaremachine goes, though, we will be gearing up for some live shows. We're working on a couple more videos from Conquest 3000. We'll probably have one for the song Parasol coming up.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I've got this side project with Craig from Nova State Machine. He's the Australian artist I mentioned. We've got a 4-song EP that's almost finalized. That's going to be cool. That's not a Zwaremachine. That's a Fox Nova project, we're calling that. Just to make it more confusing.
No, but it's good though. You can vary your style and you've got different outlets for it, which is good.
Yeah, with Zwaremachine, I really want to keep it in the electro-industrial, darker, like whatever we're doing, I want to stay there. I don't want to like bounce around genres too much with Zwaremachine, but I am open to a lot of music and I just love to collaborate and make music. So it's nice to have these other avenues to explore, maybe a little more electro pop or just a different vibe.
For me, as a person looking in the band, at the band, I would say you're somewhere between Front 242 and a bit of Combi Christ kind of. You're kind of in between there. So you're appealing to two sides and a bit in the middle kind of thing. And I must say, I'm actually impressed because I hadn't, honestly, I'll be straight with you, I hadn't heard of you. And I'm really glad I have now because it's really good.
Well, I really appreciate that. And Front 242 just always amazes me. I think they have a good sense of humor. They work hard. They definitely are pioneers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I too take a huge inspiration from them. And stuff like Combi Christ, I think that's kind of the aggressive synth stuff that we have on this new album. I don't think we probably had that vibe on Be a Light, the first album, but definitely on this one. And that's kind of what I was talking to our manager about, Kitty. I said, we're probably going to lose a few fans who loved that retro, electro-industrial, early 80s vibe we had. But I think we're going to be open to a wider audience. And another thing with Conquest 3000, I mixed it at a studio in town here called the Terrarium. And it's one of my best friends. And we mixed it together. He's not familiar with the type of music we do, but he knows how to mix records. So I just told him, I said, when I went in there, I said, I want to mix this for DJs and dance floors. I want it to sound great through a loud PA. So we paid attention to the sub. I mean, everybody mixes records to sound great, I'm sure, but I didn't mix it for streaming. I didn't mix it for in your car. I mixed it for loud club PA systems. So with him. So I hope that can transfer too. I hope people can hear it on a dance floor.
I think so. I mean, you're right. Not in a car, because I think the nature of it, you'd be driving way too fast.
Yeah, take that car off some jumps.
You would be with that. But I mean, that amazed me with Remain Unseen. The way you were in that, you've got a hell of a voice.
Thank you.
You put that across, and the aggressive way you were moving as well. It was like, bloody hell, that's not what I expected.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to do with this band. From my background of just performing and playing in punk and rock bands all my life, really, to me, it's not about the studio. And that's how we choose the album tracks also. It's like, do we want to play this live? Okay, then it's on the album. I wanted to be known as a great live band, a band that performs on stage. And that's really what my focus is. I'm not so much a studio project at all. And that's what's been really hard, for my whole life. Since I was about 15 years old, every year I had gigs every week, every month. I was a VJ up until COVID hit, doing visuals. So every week I had gigs, whether it was the band or, solo stuff with modular synth, more improv sets I would do. And all of a sudden COVID hit, and I'm just sitting here, just dumbfounded. No time in my life have I been not playing music every week or every month or touring and all that. So it's been a weird thing, especially wanting to focus on a live band.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've been, well, I think it came as a shock to everybody, didn't it? The way it was, the whole world just shut down.
Well, and especially hard, I don't know, some events can happen, but music was pretty much a no. But then you can have other events, sporting events and stuff. It's just, there's a bit of a strange vibe going on there, and that really bums me out. Art and culture and music, I mean, everyone needs it.
Yeah, but sports seem to take priority everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's money and advertising. I mean, there's whatever's going on behind the scenes is going on, but I just miss it. I miss performing live for people. That's where I think the band can shine. And we had a re-release of Be a Light with a label in Europe because I wanted better distribution so people knew us. Like you said, you didn't know who we were. I don't think anyone knows who we are outside of a small underground scene. And I don't think our music is for everyone, but I think it's a bit accessible. If people can hear it, they might not be into agro tech music, but there's something underneath it that you can connect to. There's even a pop sensibility, I'll admit, because, I'm okay with that. I don't want Zwaremachine to be a pop band, but I do like an arrangement hook. I do like, an instrumental hook. So.
Yeah, I was surprised how little known you were, is the honest truth, because once you hear Zwaremachine, you think, why aren't these well known? Because they are really good, and I just don't understand why you weren't well known. That struck me.
Well, we appreciate meeting people like you and helping us spread the word. I mean, we're DIY. I don't have the budget to pay for a promotional campaign. The money I would have spent on a promotional campaign, I spent sending our CD out to the DJs who have been supporting us constantly since the first album, because it's a small thank you. But honestly, since COVID, especially, without the DJs, nobody would hear our music.
No. Well,
So,
I'll do my best as well.
oh no, this has been thanks. I mean, I appreciate everyone who we contact and says, "Oh, sure, we'll do an interview or a write up or a feature or a review." That's much appreciated because I just want people to have the chance to hear it. Then they can make up their own mind. But I feel like if you grew up in a certain time period and you like a certain slant to the electronic rock music or electronic music, there's a place for us, maybe.
Definitely, definitely. And like I said, I'll get the interview all put together, and I'll put a couple of your videos on there
Great.
separately, obviously, but I will put them on there and just see what we can do. That's the aim of that's my goal, was to help
Yeah.
people recognize this kind of
No, and there's a lot of bands
smaller
like
guys.
us out there struggling just to be heard, just to have a chance. And yeah, without live gigs though, it's just like, well, what do? We didn't have a chance to go do those. We had some release parties planned in the summer of July 2019. We were looking at, I think we had a couple things, Germany and the Netherlands, like coming together, and then that was all shut down. So there's just no way to do it. Releasing videos is great, but still we don't have that huge audience that shares it or knows about it even. So
That's it's almost unfair, isn't it? You've got so much creativity, and it's like,
yeah, but
why?
everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's
Yeah,
having a hard time. So
it's a difficult time for everyone, but hopefully the little bit I do helps as well. So
yeah, I just love to meet people too. That's kind of the reason we stay DIY and do it ourselves. I like making those contacts, like meeting people, getting that feedback, and yeah, we'll share all your stuff too when we see it. So it's goes both ways, and it's cool to like get noticed a little bit. We appreciate it.
it helps, doesn't it? Is there anything
Yep.
anything else you'd like to add, Matt?
Probably, but I'm getting a little sweaty from this stupid hat, and it's just I just want to thank you for having us.
You're more
I
than
see you
welcome.
doing stuff on publishing stuff, so it's great that we got noticed by you, and
Definitely.
we'll stay in contact for sure.
Yes, and hopefully do another interview some point.
That would be great. Anytime.
Yeah, likewise. Just shout out to me on Messenger, and we'll sort something out. No problem at all.
Yeah, and if this sounds like cool music that you want to check out, Bandcamp is what we're using as our main website, and then we're Zwaremachine on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, if you want to follow any of that kind of stuff. But
and I
just
will
go
put
check
all the
out our
links.
music and give it a chance.
I will put all the links down below the video,
Great.
so everyone can get to it. Definitely.
Well, thanks, Mike.
You're more than welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and a pleasure to hear about the band. And I wish you all the luck because you deserve it. You really do. It's brilliant music.
Oh, thank you. We're going to keep pushing hard, and hopefully we'll be doing live shows again.
Yeah, let's look forward to that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.